here at the Cornerhouse to talk to Nick Jordan and Jacob Cartwright about their new exhibition, Cairo, The Breaking Up of the Ice. Tell me a bit more about Cairo. Where is this place and why did you base a film there?
So Cairo is a small town at the confluence of two of America's biggest rivers, the Mississippi and the Ohio, and it's a place that's had a very kind of troubled history. Mm-hmm. It's also a place
where John James Audubon, the 19th century ornithologist, was stranded, stuck in river ice for several weeks in the winter of 1810.
And we use his words, his account of that for the voiceover for the film.
While proceeding up the Mississippi, above its junction with the Ohio, I found, to my great mortification, that its navigation was obstructed by ice.
You've recreated the journey of Audubon, who's an ornithologist and an explorer. And in some ways throughout this whole trilogy of films, because Cairo is part of a trilogy, yeah? Tell us a bit more about Audubon.
Well, Audubon was a French-American. He moved to the States when he was about 19. His father was a French sea captain, so he was a fairly wealthy Frenchman. And he was fascinated by birds, and he had some artistic training, and so over a period of time, he started to draw and study and draw birds, and eventually he took upon himself this kind of grand scheme, which was to record and draw each and every species of bird in North America. But his narratives, his stories, are kind of particularly representative of that time in America.
Yeah, right. I think particularly fascinating was the bird life and the presence throughout the film of bird life, and it goes from very sort of almost passive observation in the birds to very nervous rhythms that the birds seem to almost trigger the rhythms of the filmmaking.
Audubon's tales, he kind of identified himself to some degree with bird. Yeah. Birds anyway.
Yeah, it was part of his performance, really, of the language that he used.
Apart from the birds, the other powerful presence for me is the rivers and this confluence of rivers that seems a very potent location, and it reminds me in a way of this kind of presence in American popular culture of the magic surrounding the crossroads, and just wondering if that is significant for you.
Initial excitement when you get, of the rivers, these kind of enormous waterways, this kind of riverine magic that you have of the Ohio, these kind of, and then obviously the Mississippi is kind of caught up with mythology and all its
significance with the Deep South. If you look back over Cairo's history, it is rise and fall. It had periods of prosperity and periods of destitution, throughout 200 years of history, really.
That commercial avenue, as it's called, was kind of once the main mercantile thoroughfare in Cairo, and over a period of a kind of decade or so, gradually many of the businesses and the shops closed down. There was this kind of standoff between communities.
There was white-owned businesses who, rather than integrate, refused to serve black people, so they shut up shop and left town. In the film, you certainly bring that violent disruption that's occurred in the town, and also in the surrounding countryside. It's particularly represented by the breaking up of the ice in some ways. Absolutely, yeah.
But I found when watching the film that I was particularly taken by a couple of transitions, of editing transitions that were also violently disruptive in breaking up the surface of the film.
The two streams seemed to rush against each other with violence.
Yeah, we do try and certainly borrow borrow from that language, but not to make deliberate
facsimile
facsimile or quotations, and there is a violent cut, a flash, which signals that we're seeing into Cairo itself.
I would point out as well that not everything we do in editing is kind of so sort of sophisticated and referential.
No,
I mean, to some extent, what we do is quite playful, and we just try things out. Sort of midway through the film, when we were filming white-tailed deer in this kind of just by the Mississippi, and it was getting towards dusk, and we put a kind of some banjo, a sort of a treated banjo soundtrack to it. Was it Doc Boggs?
It's Doc Boggs, it's Kentucky folk ballad. Yeah.
Thing as well with making these films is we're having spent time out on that with Cairo, out freezing our feet off and kind of getting excited by everything. We're not quite sure necessarily how that footage will read. Will it be kind of overtly familiar, kind of American, scenery of rivers and woods and wild animals and kind of decaying American buildings? Will that all be very familiar stuff, or is it just that we've got used to it? We've kind of we've been working with it so much that
So it's all through the editing where we hopefully find the unfamiliar or make something which is distinctive, and that's all from the film is made in the edit. So. And
I feel that's an overriding sense of the show, particularly with the framed
not forgetting the framed pictures,
and the artifacts that you're displaying that have a very much a sense of I feel an uncanny encounter with an America that we think we understand through popular culture, but still very much hidden.
And we're going to go back. We've got we've made some connections.
Well, some of these things we're talking about, we're hoping to develop into a documentary that will look into much more detail, really, on Cairo's social history, and whereas this film is a combination of cultural and natural forces.
It was impossible to move her, but our pilot ordered every man to bring down great bunches of cane, which were lashed along her sides, and before these were destroyed by the ice, she was afloat and riding above it.
But whereas our project, hopefully later this year, is going to be more of a sort of, I say straight documentary. It'll probably be an experimental documentary if we're going to give it a name. But we want to kind of take more time to actually sort of work with Cairo
now that
itself.
we've concluded all the Audubon.
Well, congratulations with that future project and on this current collaborative show. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.